Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Good afternoon. This is the Long Island Report. I am Judge Richard Weinberg. With me is Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the State Republican Party, as well as being the County Chair out in Suffolk County. And our special guest today is my very good friend for decades and decades and decades, and my boss, John Catsimatidis, Sr., who is the owner of WABC and the owner of WLIR. And John has just published a book a week ago, Tuesday. It was released. The name of the book is How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire. It is already, ladies and gentlemen, a bestseller nationwide. It's at the top of the charts on Amazon. It's doing very, very well. You go to bookstores like Barnes & Noble, and it's already sold out. It's a leading book. So the first question I have for you, John, and welcome to the Long Island Report with Jesse Garcia and Richard Weinberg. So you wrote this book, How Far Do You Want to Go? And Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire. Why'd you write this book, John?
Well, I wrote the book just to let my kids and grandkids and future grandchildren know where they came from. And I grew up in New York, and I love New York. And it's important to talk about how New York has developed from the 1950s and 1960s to where we are now. I was asked about crime in New York, and I said, I lived in Harlem. There was no crime. The crime came later on when the Vietnam vets were coming back because a lot of them had drug problems. So it all started with drugs, and the kids from Vietnam came back here, and it created a lot of problems in our city. But right now we're in a challenge. We're in a challenge of making our city make a big comeback. And since we all love New York, right now our governor, our legislature, our mayor has to work hard to get rid of the crime problem because 484,000 people have left New York, and if they keep leaving, nobody's going to be around to pay for the budget. What say you?
Well, what's interesting, and that's absolutely correct, and that's one of the themes that Jesse and I talk about on the Long Island Report every week, as well as I know since I sit with you every night at Katz and Cosby. That's a primary concern. What I thought was very interesting about the book is the way you began the book. And this is the story of a great man and how he began. And the way the book begins, ladies and gentlemen, is it starts off at a fundraiser to restore a great building in Lower Manhattan, right by the Wall Street Stock Exchange, the Federal Building. The Federal Building where Washington took the oath of office. And the way the book begins, it shows your patriotism, your love of country, your appreciation for the great opportunities that this country gave you. And what you're trying to do in this book, as I read it, John, is to teach some lessons to people. You have interesting stories to tell, but teach lessons to people that they can have the same opportunities you had, and talk about the work ethic and hard work and the standards that you have to succeed.
And Judge, that's one of the reasons I'm now chairman of Police Athletic League, and I try to help the kids of the inner city because I want to tell them that I made it and you can make it too. All you have to do is keep your nose clean and finish high school, do college if you want to, but keep your nose clean and the drug problem. Make sure you stay away from drugs. And that's the big issue in our city. And the other issue, Senator Moynihan brought up 50 years ago. Right now, 50 years ago, it was 30% of the families in the inner cities only had a one-family home. Well, it got worse. Now it's 70%. So how are those kids going to make it out of the inner city? And so I go around and I say to them, I made it, you can make it too.
Jesse.
John, thank you for being here. And it's an amazing story. You truly embody the American dream. Someone who, was born in the Greek islands. You moved here. You worked and went to school together, and then you entered the business industry full time. And you've now established this benevolent, philanthropic, and highly successful business empire. What I love about your story is that number one, you don't pull any punches, and you share insights that you've gained along your career in business, in community, in philanthropy, and you share that with the readers. Why don't you just touch upon a little bit about some of your favorite anecdotes that some of our listeners should look for when they're picking up your book and going through it?
Well, I jokingly tell people, if you read my book and you listen to some of the tips I give, you'll make $1 billion too. I'll certify that. And they said, and one friend of mine says,
I'm going to buy $2 now.
Well,
exactly.
You're going to make $2 billion. But it comes down to common sense. In life, you go through. I went through at least 12 forks in the road. And in life, when you go through forks in the road, you try to decide. You have to make the right decision if you're going to zig or you're going to zag. And that's what's going to make the determination if you are successful or not successful. So those are important decisions.
Well,
now, you've seen the city of New York, a community you love. I mean, you grew up in it. You established your business here. Your family is still here. How have you seen that change? And you see, we can't lose hope. I mean, and so tell us about how, through your experience, you can see where hope and restoring a common sense approach to governing business and whatnot helps it. And before you get to that, though, I do want to thank you so much, because I believe now more than ever, a wonderful and such an important institution like PAL that you're the chairman of, because right now where the communities are divisive and cops are being ostracized, you're the head of an organization that brings kids at a very young age, when they're very impersonable, and you put them together with law enforcement. And that type of connection is going to have long-standing benefits for that kid, for policing, and for our community at large. And
those kids are our future. And if we don't take care of the kids, we're not taking care of the future.
Well,
absolutely.
I'll tell you what I think is very, very interesting. Working with John these 6+ years I've been with him, and when we bought the radio station, people say to me, "Why did John buy the radio station?" And I can give my answer succinctly, but it's because of going back to the Federal Hall event. It's a love of country. It's a love of the city of New York. It's the state of New York. It's about getting the truth out. Truth, justice, the American way is our sign.
Our theme. That's our theme at 5 o'clock, and that's what we believe in. 50 years ago, everybody believed what Walter Cronkite said. Now, 92% of the people believe what Walter Cronkite said. Now, nobody believes what any reporter says. And hopefully at WABC, we have a much better reputation because we tell it the way it is. Also, I respect, I always said I respected Roger Ailes for creating he's the one that created Fox News. And it wasn't, Murdoch provided the money, but Roger Ailes provided the
vision.
The vision.
Well, I think the wonderful thing about this book is It shows that the American dream, that is to start from very, very little and to make something of yourself in your life and to give back to the community, the American dream is still alive and well.
Only in America, land of opportunity, and that's what we want to prove to everybody and show these young people that are working. If you think you're going to work 3 days a week and you're going to become successful, come over to me and I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge.
And Jesse, you come from immigrant parents from Cuba.
Yes, I do.
And your story of success is also as an immigrant family, isn't that right?
Absolutely. My father defected from Cuba as the Castro regime was coming to power. He, traveled those 90 miles from totalitarianism and a dictatorship to freedom and liberty. And I feel fortunate every day that he went through those trials and tribulations for us so we can have a better life and he can experience a better life. And it's very similar. Very similar to the American dream stories that John lives and has written about. How's been the reaction of your children and your family to your book?
Well, it's hard to judge children, but people, friends from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago have been reading the book, and I couldn't believe the reactions I've been getting. You write a book and you don't know what to expect, but we've had tremendous reactions from a lot of people, and Barnes & Noble's, all the Barnes & Noble stores in New York City are sold out, and Amazon we're number one on, and so I tell all my friends, go to Amazon, and they have books, so you can get books from Amazon. The John Catsimatidis, and
I think I have to tell you, as I read this book, I've known John. John and I are friends since 1989 when I first met him when I was at City Hall. And I knew a lot about John. But if you really want to understand the man, what he stands for, who's John Catsimatidis? Successful businessman, yes. An entrepreneur, yes. A man of courage who's a risk taker, yes. But this is a man, a deeply spiritual man who believes in giving back to this great country that gave him all these opportunities. And he's trying to pass that message along. He's saying to the people, read this book. This is a story that's both inspirational and it also gives you common sense advice about and lessons about how you can go forward and make your own great success. And as John constantly points out, we try to speak for truth, justice, and the American way. And the real truth about America is it is still the land of opportunity. John.
God bless America, and I agree 100%. Thank you so much, Judge.
Well,
John, how long did it take you to write it?
Well, you have to be in the right mood. So you write a paragraph now, and you write a paragraph next month, and you write another paragraph. Then, because of COVID, we put it on the shelf for 6 months.
Suffice it to say, Jesse, with 9 editions before we got the final product.
Oh, okay, great.
But of course, what the interesting thing that was a great question, Jesse, because the interesting thing is, as the book was being written by John, events changed, and we try to incorporate in the changing times of events.
We ended up buying WABC. We ended up getting into the partnership with the Yankees and Eric Scheffler in the Ferry Hawks team in Staten Island. And a lot of things happen. Things keep moving.
And that's John.
Let's be honest. Based on how you go about business and your philanthropy and your involvement in the community, there's going to be a sequel to this book, just based on what you just said. It's ever-changing and growing.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this morning on Sunday morning, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a break now. This is the Long Island Report with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg, and we've been privileged indeed to have John Catsimatidis, the owner of WABC and the author of the best-selling book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common-Sense Billionaire. The lesson in the book is very simple. This is still the land of opportunity. Listen to John's advice, and you too can be successful in this greatest of all countries. We'll be right back.